So he is a polarizing figure, as Phil points out. And so everybody, sees him through whatever lens they want to see him. But it's still interesting to hear him be so unplugged about how he feels about some of the people in the Justice Department and his take on them. For instance, Phil, as you say, Rod Rosenstein, Shan, it's been hard to know sometimes where which side Rod Rosenstein is on. He reportedly was willing to wear a wire because he was so concerned by what he was seeing in the White House. But then he writes the cover letter for firing James Comey. So here is how James Comey feels about Rod Rosenstein.
I think people like that, like Rod Rosenstein, who are people of accomplishment, but not real sterling character, strong character, find themselves trapped. And so they start to make little compromises to stay on the team, echo his words, use the term spying, talk about collusion, or just be silent, thinking that's what I need to do to survive. And in the process, he has eaten their soul.
Yum. Your thoughts?
Well, I think we're seeing a shift on our view of Rosenstein. I think there's a time everyone thought he might be the stand-up guy, being the hero, the idea of wearing the wire out of a sense of conscience. I think now, at least my view, I wrote a piece on this, is that he's more of a person looking for the best political cover. I think his epitaph at the Justice Department might be, he kept his job. When things were looking questionable for the administration, you can now say, well, he wanted to wear a wire to help the right side. On the other hand, when it looked like they were going to stay in power, he's like, let me help you fashion the cover letter for it. So at the end of the day, he's still there. He gets to leave on his own terms. But in terms of his credibility as a person of conscience, I think that's kind of gone downhill.
Not strong character,
Right.
is how James Comey described it there in his own words. I want to get your take, Shan, also on Comey's legal analysis here of the Mueller report. And I do want to point out to people, he was the Deputy Attorney General. James Comey was, a revered lawyer for a long, long time. He says he saw clear evidence of obstruction and laid out in part 2 of the report. And this is what he said about criminal and corrupt intent.
Do you think he had criminal intent based on what you have seen now in the Mueller report?
It sure looks like he did in connection with a couple episodes. The direction to Don McGahn to get the special counsel fired is, to my mind, a flaming example
of corrupt intent.
Yes, of corrupt intent.
And again, this is apart from his firing. He's taking a look at the 10 instances laid out by Robert Mueller and saying, yeah, obstruction, yeah, corrupt intent.
I think he's exactly right on that. Almost to a person, most former prosecutors, as soon as they began to hear of the incidents, all thought that this looked like obstruction. So I completely agree with him on that point. I think the only real mystery about that is, why didn't Mueller just make it more explicit that the real reason they chose not to recommend charging was the LLC opinion? That's the only question mark that remains.